Kadosh Boker Or Masechet Zevachim Daf Yomi Daf Kavgim Lamud Aleph 23a1 says the Gemara. The Gemara is speaking about now that it's written Vaktiv Ish Lefi Ochlo Tachos Olaseh, which means anybody which is fitting to eat the Korban Pesach, they're going to do the shechita for him. So we learn from him that the shechita has to be done for somebody that's fitting to eat it. So therefore, to Mehmet, he can't eat it. So therefore, you can't do shechita on the Korban Pesach. So answers the mitzvah. The answer to the Gemara, it's a mitzvah. It's not a chiyuv. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do it that way, but it's not an obligation to do it that way. So says the Gemara, but it's not. It doesn't impede. Vatanya, we learned it right. Nefashot. What does that mean? When they do shchitat Pesach, they only do it when it's going to be limnuyav. You know what limnuyav means? You have to be
registered.
Registered. Thank you. You have to be registered for it. Yachol ye keover al mitzvah. I would have thought to say that it's only going to be kosher b'diavad. Talmud mar tachosu. Hakatav shana lav lehakev. The Torah repeated it in order to tell you that it impedes, that you have to be registered. So therefore, it's going to be eating. The eating is going to be a kesh, right? It's going to be juxtaposition to the what? To the ones which are registered, which means that the ochlea pesach to the menuim lev, which means that just like the korban pesach has to be done shchita to the people which are registered, so to the din there has to be shechita to people that are able to eat from it, and it's me'akev. It's not just stama mitzvah, okay? Which means they have to be registered for a korban pesach. So answers the Gemara, ziknei darom lo makshi. The ziknei darom, the elders of the south, they don't make such a hekesh, and therefore that's why they just say it's a mitzvah and it's not an obligation. So ask the Gemara, v'chilo makish nami, right? He says even if you don't do the hekesh, right? Mehanami it lepircha. We also have a question. Uma bimkon shenitmeu be'alim b'sheretz, right? Mishalchim kumnotem lechatchila. It says if they're going to be tamim b'sheretz, right? They're going to send the korbanot at the beginning. Kohen shenitmam b'sheretz eno meratzeh bimkom shenitmeu be'alim etuma met. Shehem mishalchim kumnotem lechatchila. Kohen shenitmam b'met eno nin sheno meratzeh. Shouldn't be. It's not going to be meratzeh. Which means that we're trying to make a kal vachomer basically to do with the korban. So therefore, what are we trying to say? We're trying to say if right now the baalim became tamesheret, they still are able to send their korban, meaning an owner. He became tamesheret, but he could still send the korban. So a kohen that becomes metameh b'sheret, right? It's not going to be, meaning if he's tameh, it doesn't matter how he's tameh, it doesn't help the korban that he brings. The kohen, the kohen cannot do a service when he's tameh. So therefore, he says, if right now you could do it b'tamemet, right? So he comes and he says, and they're not able to send the korbanot lechatchila to the Bet HaMikdash. So kohen, which is tamemet, so obviously you can't then send the korban. So he says over here like this. Meitvei, we're going to ask the following question. Mibnei she'amru nazir, right? Ve'oseh pesach, hatzitz miratzel tumat adam, ve'en hatzitz miratzel tumat aguf. Do you know that we said that the tzitz is miratzeh? Remember that the tzitz was the head plate of the Kohen Gadol. And that was an atonement, right? Remember, each one of the clothing of the Kohen Gadol atoned for something else. So here it says that right now, if you have, right, al tumat dam, person became tameh, right? But it's only going to be miratzeh al tumat dam, but not miratzeh al tumat aguf, right? So therefore, he comes and he says, "B'mai, what are we talking about exactly? Ilema tumat sheretz. If you're going to tell me now it's tumat sheretz, Hamarta, you just told me shochtim v'zokim tumat sheretz. You're allowed to do zrikat adam. You're allowed to do the shchita. You're allowed to do everything, right? Ela barador. We're talking about tumat met. The ktani, and we said enatzitz menatzeh alma. So you see from here, right? Nitmeu ba'alim bemet and mishalchim korbanetem. If the ba'alim became tameh with tumat met, they're not going to send it to the korban. So answers the Gemara, no. Right? If it's going to be tamemet, you're right. So therefore, if he's going to become tameh b'sheretz, the tzitz is not going to be meratzeh al avodato. If it was going to be tamemet, bemet it would, but not on this. So says the Gemara, if you're telling me now that the kohen became tameh to sheretz, remember sheretz is the creepy crawlers, yeah. So he says, if so, let's see the seifa. It says nitma tumat tehom. What happens if he became tameh tumat tehom? Atzitz meratzeh, it's going to be meratzeh. Hatan Rebuchia says lo amru tumat tehom. Elameh bilvad, that's only going to be by a met. Lemet miut tumah. What is it coming to exclude? Are we not talking about tumat tehom the sheretz? That the tzitz is not going to be meratzeh on it? So what's going on over here? So he comes and he says like this. Meaning tumat tehom is tumat that you don't even recognize it. So for example, if the met is kavur underneath like a whole bunch of stones or whatever, so you don't even know that he's there basically. Okay, that's called tumata tehom. Tehom is the abyss.
Right? The deep.
The depths.
Buried,
exactly. Yeah, just buried. Nobody even knows that he's there. Right? So he says, right, muted tumat tehom, right, the ziva. Fine. Ve'ela, but rather, hadabayir, I mean, merchama, that which merchama comes and he says, kohen amratzeh b'kovenottehem. When we're talking about right now, a kohen, right, that he was going to be meratzeh b'kovenottehem, itir lo tumat tehom, or lo utra lo tumat tehom, right? Is it going to be, they permitted the tumat tehom, right, or not? So tifshot the tumat tehom utra lo. Te'ahacha bekohen kaimina. He says, for sure it's going to be mutar, but here we're talking about a kohen. And therefore, right, on such a case, we're talking about if he became tameh, tumat tehom, the tzitz is going to be meratzeh. Rami bar Chama vaday plige, because Rami bar Chama for sure was coming and arguing, right? But he asked the question, right? So now he says like this. So Tashema, let's try to bring a proof now, right? Now again, we're going back on that a korban pesach that's going to be brought for tameh met, right, is going to be pasul. Okay, so he says Tashema. He has Avon who said, what sin is Aaron carrying? So Kav Gimel Bet says 23b. Im avon pigul, if you're going to tell me that he's carrying the avon pigul, the sin of pigul, remember, pigul is that you did the slaughtering or you did any of the avodot with the mindset of doing it later on. So, for example, I'm going to eat it after the time, or I'm going to do this, right? So it's a time concept. Sharikvar ne'emar, as it says, lo yechashev. V'im lavon notar, if we're talking about leftovers, sharikvar ne'emar lo yeratzeh. Ha eno noseh lavon tuma. So obviously we're talking about tuma. Tuma is what? That if somebody's tameh and he's bringing it. Shutra miklala, right? That is going to be shutra miklala. Okay. So now he comes and he says like this. So he says now like this. My tuma, what do you mean tuma? Ilema tuma cheretz. If you're going to tell me now it's tuma cheretz, hecha yishtare. He says, where's the yisur tuma cheretz by the tzibur? Ela, but rather it's tumat met, right? Obviously it has to be tumat met. So he says, velav kegon shenitmu ba'alim betumat met, alma nitmu ba'alim betumat met. And it comes out that if the owners became tameh met, they cannot bring a korban. If they're tameh, they can bring a korban. So he says, what are we talking about? Uvmai. If it's going to be a nazir, right? The Torah says, what happens right now if the nazir became tameh met? He has to start again. Right? Ela, but rather, Pesach. We're talking about right now that he was doing a korban pesach. So he says, Leolam, really be'emet, b'sheretz. We're talking about the sheretz. The Shem Tum'ah ba'olam. And we're talking about the name of the Tum'ah. We're not talking about, meaning we didn't go into which Tum'ah it is. It's a Tameh, it's Tum'ah. Which Tum'ah? There's different Tum'ah, there's different Tum'ahs. There's impurities of sheretz, there's impurities of Tum'ah. So really we're talking about Tum'ah sheretz. And Shem Tum'ah. Vika the Daiku Mighty Achin, they actually brought it from here. When it says Avon Kodashim in, Avon Makdishim no. It's only the Avon of the Kodashim, not the Makdishim at the Korban. Makdishim are the ones that bring the Korban. Misha Mekdish at the Korban. My Tuma, which Tuma? If you tell me Tuma Cheretz, it's not going to be Tuma Betzibur. El Avon Kodashim in, right? It has to be Tuma Met. So Avon Kodashim, yes. Avon Makdishim, no. So he says, really, Bemet Tuma Cheretz, Veshem Tuma Ba'olam. Fine. 2 dots.
Very fast.
There's the 2 dots Yoshev. We're talking about right now where the person is sitting down. How do we know that if a person is sitting down, it's pasul, the korban? So imagine he's doing the korban.
The king and the king.
Very good. So Amrav Nachman Merkad, this pasuk says la'amod l'sharet. He has to stand to serve. La'amida bechartiv. I chose you only for standing, v'lo l'yeshiva, not for sitting. Yeah. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. La'amod l'sharet is a mitzvah. As כשאומר העומדים שם לפני השם, שנה עליו הכתוב לעכב, meaning, when it only says לעמוד לשרת, maybe it's only a mitzvah that לכתחילה you should stand. But if you sit, זה בסדר בדיעבד. No. אבל אז אחר כך כתוב עוד פעם, העומדים שם לפני השם. The ones that are standing in front of השם. מה? אז רק בעמידה. So it's מעכב. So אמר לרב נחמן, מיכתי יושב כזר דמי. כשהוא יושב, הוא כמו זר. כהן שיושב, הוא כמו לא כהן. He's like a non-כהן. הוא מכיל את העבודה, he's פוסל את העבודה, he's מחלל את העבודה. So אימה, מה זר במיטה? So I'm going to say maybe it's a death penalty, because if a stranger brings it, it's מיטה בידי שמיים. So too, if he's sitting, it should be מיטה בידי שמיים. So lama tani, so why do we learn aval harero nen yoshev eno b'mita ela b'azra? It's only in love. So to a minute, why are we saying that if a person's sitting down, if he's going to be like a stranger gets killed. He gets mitabed shamayim, not by the courts, by shamayim. So the same thing should be the same thing if a person's sitting. The Kohen Yoshev. So why do we say it's only an Isul Lav? Isul Lav zotomenet azara. It's a negative commandment. No, זה mitabed shamayim. So answers the Gemara, Mishum Davi Mechusar Begadim Shelo Chutz Yadayim Shne Keduim Ben Echad. Mechusar Begadim and without Rechutz Yadayim Reglaim, the two psukim coming in the same thing, and two psukim coming in the same thing, they cannot come and they cannot teach for something else. So to a minute, if you're lacking clothing, it's also Pusel Avodah. If you're drinking wine, it's also Pusel Avodah. But there are two psukim coming and teach you the same thing of Mitabed Shamayim. When you have Shne psukim Abayin Keechad, two psukim teaching you the same concept, you cannot learn for something else from that concept. So therefore, I cannot learn mitabed shamayim. Therefore, it's only a negative commandment.